So singing journey, where does it start? It actually starts childhood. I was raised on jazz standards, shocker. So like Ella Fitzgerald, Sinatra, Bennett, Dean Martin. But I literally did not start singing until this past April of 2017. So January, I started posting videos of me singing. I actually didn't do it because I was like self-conscious. I was like that really short kid in high school that like high voice, didn't know if it was a guy or girl. You really didn't. So I couldn't sing standards, and my dad always sung them. So last January, I started posting videos, and companies and weddings, they started happening after that. And in April, I got my first gig, and that was kind of the rest was history.
Come on.
So blind day, I was my typical self, freaking out, having fun. I remember right before I got on stage, I was getting a bunch of the crew backstage laughing, because I was like, I'm gonna get crazy on stage, I'm gonna lose it. And my whole honest intent was to get Blake, mainly because he just, from outside eyes, seems like a very genuine dude, honest guy. And I know he's friends with Michael Bublé. But yeah, so that's why, and I'm just so glad to be a part of his team. So when I worked with Blake, the one thing he told me is that he absolutely loves jazz and the whole Dean Martin era. And he was trying to pinpoint one thing for me to improve on, and the one thing he said to improve on is my enunciation. So making sure I say words right. And I think it's just because I get like Dean Martin sometimes. I get kind of a little loose, not drunk, but I've had a few drinks in me, it seems like, when I sing. So I just gotta make sure I pronounce things right.
I wanted to audition for The Voice because, I mean, what an incredible opportunity to share, what you do with the entire world. Started singing when I was 19, 20 years old. It just, it was kind of a means to fill a void at that time. It was something that I think I knew in the back of my mind, I was going to pursue. I always say that, you don't really pursue music, it pursues, you. So that's definitely been the case for me throughout my life. It was an incredibly, nerve-wracking experience getting to sing, not only for a live audience, but in front of four of the biggest, pop stars in the entire world. It's not something you do every day. So you definitely have that adrenaline rush, and you have to kind of taper that back a little bit to execute a good performance.
Well, I auditioned for The Voice back on season 3 when I was in college. And I auditioned because I sing, and I think I sing pretty well. But more than that, I think that I want to connect with more people. And I think that what I do, and what I mean by that is playing music, and I really love to perform in intimate environments when people are listening. And I feel that that is almost like something that's dying. And I really love to do that, and I see this as an extension to reach people, and not just people on my voice, but also just like sharing myself and my outlook on life and just connecting with people. So I find out that I'm doing She's a Bad Mamma Jamma, and I have like a little smirk on my face. I'm like, oh right, this is gonna be cool. So I'm stoked about my song, and I practice it, and I decide to do it on ukulele because I kind of want to like change it up. It's a funk song, and I want to show sort of my personality in it too. And so I decided to do it on ukulele. I practiced it a lot. And when it came down to the moment, my biggest struggle is getting out of my own head, right? So I practiced the song so much, and then, down to like choreographed moves and what I'm gonna do and the exact time of everything. And I just sort of told myself before I went on, none of that matters. I'm just gonna go out there and do what feels right. So I kind of like, I practiced and I got everything perfect, and then I threw it all out. And that was sort of like what my process looked like. And I had a little like hiccup in my song where I like forgot a lyric. So even after Blake turned, a part of me was like, man, you messed up, you know? But now in retrospect, I'm like, God, what was I thinking? You know, this is about progressing and developing as a singer and telling my story. And that has nothing to do with, you know, forgetting a lyric. Who wants to, you know, who likes someone that does everything perfect, you know? I certainly don't. I've learned, Blake said something to me that was really interesting, and he told me to put more Brett in the song. And so I'm thinking to myself, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But wait, you don't know who I am. You know, that was confusing. And what I learned from that was that I put out a certain thing that you can see right away. And you don't have to know me a long time to see it. And I think that that's pretty special. And I want to hone in on that and double down on it. I want to use that. I mean, to have someone say that to you with only seeing you twice, I'm thinking to myself, that's pretty cool. And I haven't figured it out totally, but there's something there.
I think Blake is a perfect coach for me because not only is he country, but he's done really well with young country singers on this show. And because I'm a fan of the show, I've kind of watched after the show as he's continued to work and support his artists, which is something that I think is really important in building a career and continuing even after the show and continuing to interact. So I think he's a perfect coach for me with stylistically. I've seen some of the songs that he's picked for other artists, other country artists, and that's how I've discovered some of my favorite songs and favorite arrangements of specific songs. So I just can't wait to continue to work with him. I think Blake so far has just really encouraged me to be confident and kind of find the things that make me unique as an artist and find the little specific things that are unique to my voice and really just develop those and kind of find songs and ways to let those things shine to set me apart. I think I've already grown so much being here, and I think that as the show continues and as I continue to grow, I'm going to learn even more, you know, about different ways to push myself. I'm going to learn things that I didn't even know I could do with my voice or on stage or different things. So with everything that I've already learned and how amazing of an experience this has already been, I just can't wait to continue working.
I was in a restaurant using the bathroom and singing at the same time on New Year's, and this guy comes in there and hears me singing, and he's like, dude, I want you to come meet my brother. If you sing for real, like, if you take it serious, or if you're just messing around, whatever, but if you take it serious, I want you to come meet my brother. It's Anthony Hamilton, a famous R&B singer. And I was like, dude, I've been listening to him for years. So I went out there, sang for him, and he loved me, and he kind of just got me to start taking music a little more serious. Like, instead of just doing it while I'm out and socializing with friends on the weekend, you know, actually producing songs and looking to like release and build a brand and like try to make it. So from there, you know, I released my first couple singles and an album last year, and then I was reached out to about, you know, going into casting for The Voice, and went to the blinds, which was amazing. Made it through the blind audition on a Team Blake, and it's just been super exciting and an amazing experience that could catapult, you know, what I've been building with my dream to a reality. So, you know what, Blake Shelton, like, they asked us, what coach will you pick? And I was only thinking about like genres. So I was thinking pop, R&B, whatever. But Blake turned around in the last second for me, and I realized in that moment, like, he's got humility. He's got the Southern background, just like me, being from the South. He's been more successful on the show than any other coach. Like, this is going to be the perfect fit. So we mesh really well. We joke around when I hang out with him. We have that humility and just laid back, fun vibe. We like to have fun. So it's just a great fit. Like, he loves my voice, he loves my stage presence. Like, he says I do cartwheels with my voice, and he just digs it. So it's been a good experience so far.
To tap into that you haven't done previously?
Yeah, I mean, the voice definitely challenges you with throwing you out of your element. Like, for my battle song, I'm going into a country song head on with an artist and song I've never heard of, but I'm going in with my style and swag and just singing like I sing and making it work, and it's just working perfectly. So, you know, diving into that shows me, like, maybe I could do more pop country songs every once in a while, or maybe I could, you know, they kind of just dig and try to get you to show a malleable, you know, easy to work with person.
My journey to get here to The Voice is it's very hard to make into a little bit. But music has just been something that my family has done forever. My grandparents were touring artists, and they had toured together since they were, I think, in their 20s. And I mean, just for years, for like 55 years. I mean, they're still doing music. So it's in my blood, and it's something that I always wanted to do. And unfortunately, there were just things that had kind of pulled me away from it. I had a really, really rough relationship with my father. He was abusive, and he would basically tell me growing up that I wasn't going to amount to anything. And it just kind of shattered me from wanting to try in music. So I really pulled away from it for a long time, and just some events that were just huge confidence boosters in my life, competing being one of them as a figure competitor for bodybuilding. It just was a huge confidence booster, and it just something along the lines got me wanting to songwrite again. And as soon as I started doing that, it's just crazy how the universe just will always bring you back to your purpose, and everything started opening up. A bunch of doors started opening up with my music, and this was one of them. The Blind Auditions was an awesome experience. It was very euphoric. There were parts of it that were very fast and a little blurry, and then there were parts that I remember crystal clear. It was just so cool. It was so cool being able to do what I love in front of such an enthusiastic audience, and in front of some of the biggest names in music in general. And you know, just to be able to sing in front of those coaches and have them fighting over me. It was really cool, you know, being able to have these huge names in the music industry wanting you and just telling you how great you are. And it was amazing, and having my family there to see it. And my grandparents were there, who are also just some of my biggest influences in music as well, you know. And just to have that moment it was beautiful. It was a great day. My choice of Team Blake was actually decided probably 4 months prior. I'm very big, and I'm huge about promoting it, law of attraction and visualization and manifestation. And once I had found out about this opportunity, I had a picture on my phone of Blake Shelton turning in his chair pointing at himself with the "I want you" light, you know, all lit up on his seat. I had that for months, and I would just look at it, and I was like, I know I'm gonna pick Blake. I know I'm gonna pick Blake. And then when Kelly turned as well, it was amazing. It was just amazing. I already knew what I wanted, and I got to kind of talked about, you know, how I had him on my phone for a while, and it was exciting. And I already know, you know, I'm a country artist. Like I said, I love all music, but Blake was the decision for a while. So
I got involved with The Voice. I believe I auditioned a few years ago, and then got a phone call. They saw me on YouTube for this season, and just kind of everything took off from there. I discovered I could sing when I was really little. My whole family is musical, so they kind of just put me up in church when I was super young, and from then on I think just have always sang. But then, I mean, there's always been like that dream in the back of my mind that I wanted to be a country singer, and then when college hit, that's when I was like, I'm gonna go to school for music. And then since then, it's just been kind of a back and forth, you know, kind of have to have that real life for a moment, and then now this kind of came in, and it's like, okay, now this is a not real life moment, but it's like a cool experience. And back home, I've got just a great town. I come from a town of about 1,000 people, so I've got a town that just kind of rallied behind me, and not a lot of things like this happen, so for this to happen is really fun, and I've got just a ton of support. The blind auditions for me was just basically like a pinch me moment every day. I didn't, I couldn't really believe that I was there, and then, getting ready to go up on stage, just kind of like the room's silent, and it's just like this still moment, and then you get your microphone and you go, your song starts, and then from that moment, I don't really remember. I mean, I think I kind of black out, and then it's like, then I, look down, and it's like Blake and Adam had turned for me, and I'm just sitting there like, oh, they're talking to me. Like, it feels like you're just watching a big screen TV, and they're talking at you, but it's like, oh no, they want me to respond, and it's just crazy that that's what happened, and I'm here. Initially, I knew I wanted to go with Blake just because I grew up listening to country. He's just that person that's just a staple for just like country music sound. So I knew that he would be able to teach me a lot. But with Adam was kind of, I wasn't expecting him to turn. I was just thankful that someone turned, but he was the first person to turn for me, and he had a lot of great things to say, and he kind of made the point of he wanted me to be that 1 in a million person that chose him because I'm country and he's not, but at the end of the day, Blake gave me some just very real kind of coaching advice from the get-go, and that's what I liked. I didn't want someone that's going to hold back or kind of, sugarcoat things. He just gets right in there and says the truth, and that's what I want him to be pushed, and I want to be challenged while I'm here, so that's why I chose Blake.
Hi, my name's Kaleb Lee. I live in Ormond Beach, Florida. So I came to be a participant on The Voice. Actually, someone reached out to me via a YouTube video, and here I am. It's been a crazy ride, and you never really expect to get a message or have someone reach out based on that, or at least I didn't. But just all because of a YouTube video that was posted, I get to now experience The Voice and all the awesomeness around it. So. Yes, the blind audition was a really cool experience. It had been so long since I'd performed really in any capacity, especially something on that type of stage, right? So the experience was like none other. Very intense, very obviously nervous and excited at the same time. But being able to see 2 chairs turn around, both Blake and Kelly, and so that was really great. And I just remember immediately looking over to my family and seeing them over there. So it was a really cool shared experience, even though they weren't on the stage with me at the time. It's been a really cool experience working with Blake. He's a country music superstar, and just being in the same room with him as he's listening to you play and sing, and getting feedback from a guy like that is something you definitely you take to heart, and you really try to implement into your practice every day. And so that's what I've been doing, trying to take his advice, and I'm really excited about working with him more. Yeah, so I've had a lot of different artists influence me over the years. I remember my first concert was a Garth Brooks concert in Evansville, Indiana, and so seeing that show and the show he puts on was pretty incredible, and that was very influential for me growing up. I would say Chris Stapleton is another new artist as far as most people are concerned, but I've listened to him since he was a singer for the Steel Drivers, and just a super, gets into the music, writes incredibly, very passionate singer, emotional singer. So it's definitely one of those that I will probably listen to for the rest of my life. Wow, what would it mean for me to win The Voice? It'd be a cherry on the top of a really crazy life with music for me. Being so involved in music early on and so passionate about music, and then leaving it for so long, and then coming back, and not just coming back, but coming back on a stage like The Voice. The Voice represents an opportunity for me that most people don't get, so I'm super thankful for that. But what a way to catapult yourself back into to music. It would be really, really cool.
Well, I've been in Nashville since I was 18, and I'm 33 now. So Kansas is home for me, really. It's where I grew up. It's where all my family and friends are. I've worked every odd kind of job, but I would definitely say my church family in both places, Nashville and Kansas, is who I'm missing most and who's rooting for me the most. I grew up singing. I grew up singing in church. Kansas, you pretty much, sing, play an instrument, or work a job, and I did all of those things. So, I mean, everything was church. It was Sunday morning, Tuesday Bible study, Wednesday Bible study, Thursday Bible study, Saturday choir rehearsal, and outside of that, it was debate, forensics, basketball, whatever sport I was in at the moment, 3 choirs, 3 orchestras. So it was always music. It was always surrounded by music. So I have been blessed to grow up listening to it and be able to apply it in my adult life. The Blinds were probably the most anxiety-filled, fantastic. I tell people I had anxiety and gas. Like, it was the worst combination of feelings I've ever experienced. But it was exciting because the thing about The Voice that's so fantastic is that it is about the voice, is that you don't have to, even if I was in pajamas, they still would make a decision based on how I sound. And for me, that was what made The Voice a place I wanted to be in. I wanted to participate in this because it was back to the music. It was back to why I loved. So
I chose Blake. I was fully convinced going into it that I was going to choose Blake, just because, I mean, he's, a man's man, I guess, and we have a lot in common. But I was very, very, very close to being persuaded by Mr. Levine. But I chose Blake at the very end just because he told me everything I wanted to hear, and then some. So I said, well, okay, I might as well just stick with my gut and go with Mr. Blake. And so I just started singing. I've never had a vocal lesson. I don't know if I'm doing properly or incorrectly, so I just kind of open my mouth and make some noise, and that's what comes out. So I have no idea, to be honest, what I'm doing, just really trying hard not to mess up. The song that we're doing is I mean, it's like a classic Hall of Fame song. So it's, don't steer too far away from the roots of it. Stay original to it, stay true to it, stay true to the artist who's no longer with us. And we're the only ones on the entire show that's doing a song like this, and by a person of this sort of caliber, if you will. So they just told us, make sure you pay homage to the song, pay homage to the artist, and do it right, and don't mess it up.
One day it just became, me losing the passion for music, and I, lost the love for it. It stopped motivating me when I woke up in the morning, and so I quit music entirely for 3 years. And so my audition for The Voice was the very first time that I have sang in 3 years. So this was really exciting for me, but it was also a little nerve-wracking because this is sort of my, a continuation of the journey that I had already had before. So my journey obviously has brought me here, and so I really can't even still believe it. So my mom and I are huge fans of The Voice. We've been watching since season 1, and what's funny is I actually auditioned for season 1 of The Voice, and I guess God's timing is the best timing because I obviously wasn't ready then, but we've been fans of the show forever. So we were watching it, and my mom casually says, they're auditioning, in town this weekend, and I was like, okay, great, and, and she was like, you should go, just see what happens. And so I said, okay, and that was the best okay I could have given. Well, for one, my blind audition was, I was so nervous. Sweaty palms, sweaty armpits, everything. I was like, this is the first time I'll be on stage in front of people, and 3.5 years, so this was like not a joke for me. I was really tuned in, very serious. I really don't remember a lot of my audition because it was such a blur, but I remember singing and I felt like I was floating, and then I guess when the music stopped, I came back down to earth and realized that Kelly and Blake had turned around, and then I like feel like I started bawling or something. I started crying really hard, and really listening to their feedback was a blessing too, because I hadn't had that sort of feedback on my voice before, you know, in my musical journey. So it was almost as if I was starting over and it was a new beginning and I was getting fresh feedback, and that was really heartwarming for me. But Blake really said a lot of things that resonated with my heart, and I'm a huge believer in following your heart. Obviously, it's brought me this far, so I'm gonna keep trusting it. But he really talked about how, you know, I could make a difference in country music, and how he could hear some of the very specific parts of my voice, and that it's really important to a singer that you can hear what they're doing. So that really made me connect to Blake, and ultimately I followed my heart and picked him as my coach.
So the way they got on The Voice was I got a phone call from someone on The Voice that had seen some of the stuff I did in the past through bands and some YouTube videos, and came out and did the thing, and now I'm here. I grew up in a very musical family, so I started singing before technically I could even really talk. I kind of sang along with my family before I even necessarily knew what they were saying, humming songs and whatnot, and started playing drums when I was 6, and I was the drummer in the church and sang in church, and then ended up joining bands in middle school and high school, and just kind of never stopped. Once the wheels started turning when I was 3 years old, they haven't stopped since. I'd say my biggest two supporters back home are my wife and my daughter. Obviously, being from a small Georgia town, anybody who's even close to being a family member, like the most distant of distant cousins, are also very supportive. But my wife and my daughter take the cake, especially my daughter. She's only 7, so the fact that I'm even going to be on TV for anything, she thinks it's the most amazing thing to ever happen to anybody. The blind auditions for me was a pretty crazy experience, just because I've experienced pressure on stage. I've played in front of anywhere from 0 people to 40,000 people, but never to the back of 4 chairs of people who are not looking at you. So I've had every scenario except for somebody that I can't see and they can't see me. So that was a little nerve-wracking, especially because Blake and Adam didn't turn their chairs around until pretty much the very last note of the song. So